joining us. Sorry we're a little late. We had some technical issues. Thanks for hanging in there. And we'll continue with our satsang as soon as things are working here.
Do you have your...
Come on.
Yeah.
Okay. So we will continue today to... Now, is this all correct here?
Yeah. You're good.
In this?
Yes.
Okay.
Trust me.
We'll continue today to have satsang and also record a few segments for one of the courses that we're creating right now. And the first course is about basic mind training. Today we will look at some techniques for focusing the mind, and also some techniques to feel our way into the body, feel ourselves being present. So let's see. That will turn out to be. You want to start us off?
Okay. Action.
Everyone knows how to focus. And you have that gift already. It's not something that you're learning from scratch. But now we're going to show you how you can learn the art of focusing the mind in a very specific way. Focusing on focusing, so to speak. We do it naturally when you're reading something and you're getting really absorbed. That's focusing. When you're watching a movie and you're getting really absorbed. It's maybe not so much that you're consciously focusing on something, you're simply getting absorbed in it, but your mind becomes very one-pointed. You're just there, it could be with the TV also, and at that time you're just in the story and you don't have your own thought process going on. This can be good or bad. When we sit in front of the TV and just veg out and let somebody else's stuff run through our heads, we do that a lot, people in general. But I found it so much not relaxing that I really stopped doing it altogether. So focusing the mind, when you go back to experiences, maybe you did some work, and maybe you even forgot the flow of time. You were just so focused and you didn't notice that a whole hour had passed. So these are common experiences that we all have that show us that the mind can become very one-pointed. But then there are other times, of course, where the mind is all over the place. When we have thoughts coming in that are really unpleasant, from unpleasant to torturous, and we don't know how to control that. So it's really good to know that you have that skill of focusing already. And the skill of focusing is also a very fundamental ability that we have to have if we want to engage in meditation and in using the mind consciously in deeper and more aware ways. So let's begin an exercise of focusing, and for that we need to have an object. We're going to start with the most common object, which is the breath. And in the section on breathing, you've already learned to modulate the breath and be aware of the breath. And now we're going to use the breath again, simply to focus the mind. So let's just take a minute or so, and I want you to sit comfortably but fairly straight, and become aware of each breath. Now, the way you want to do that is not just to become aware of inhaling, exhaling. That's already good because you've pulled the mind out of past and future where it tends to lose itself into the now a little bit more. But we can do better than that because a breath takes what, like maybe a second or so. So there's still an extent of time here, a second, and you can get more focused than that. So I invite you to use this exercise to bring your attention not just to an in-breath, but to each smallest part of each in-breath. And then you'll notice that there's a pause, and then the out-breath begins, and again it flows, the air flows out, and you can be centered on every part of every exhale. And then there's a pause again. Notice the pause. And then an inhale. So let's just do that for a few breaths. Use your regular thought without changing it anyway. Notice if the thought goes mainly into the upper chest or the belly, as we've learned in this section on breathing. As you relax, you may notice the breath is going more into the belly. Don't force it, just observe it. Okay, so you got a bit of a feeling of just staying with the breath, but you may also have noticed, where do you become aware of the breath in your body? And there's two particular spots we want to work with next, and the first one is the nostrils. In the nostrils, there's a subtle sensation of touch, and the air flows either out or in. And then there's a different sensation, or maybe absence of sensation, during the little pauses between inhale and exhale. So now I invite you to become completely aware of that sensation of touch, and again, leave your breath just flowing in its natural way. So become fully aware of each smallest part of each breath as it creates that sensation of touch in the nostrils. Now you may notice that some thoughts are coming in, and just let go of those thoughts and come back to the object of your focus, which is that sensation of touch. Okay. Now when you're doing a concentration exercise, it means that you're doing that at the exclusion of other thoughts. And it's not that the thoughts just disappear. They can come in and they attract your attention to whatever the subject matter of the thought is. But you just say, maybe, not now, and return back to the object of observation. So now let's pick another object. It's the last one on this section of breathing. I'd like you to focus on the movement in the belly. Now, if you're already breathing deep into the belly, abdominal breathing, then you may be able to feel that sensation from inside the body. But if that's not so obvious to you, put both of your hands on the stomach. Just feel the breath moving the hands. And if your breath is still more shallow up in the chest, then allow the breath to flow down into the lower lungs so it pushes out the belly. And again, become aware of each part of each breath as it's moving the belly. Very good. So the invitation is to just practice that a little bit. You may notice that after doing this now for a few minutes, your mind actually has become calmer. And that's, of course, our object here, to calm the mind, to help it to become focused, and increasingly to bring about a sensation of ease and harmony in your body-mind. Now, we just focused on two actual physiological sensations that arise with breathing. The sensation of touch on the nostrils, and also the feeling of the belly actually moving. But you can also use the breath and connect it with imagination. You can imagine that you're breathing in and out of the heart. So it's a image you can have perhaps, but more than that, a feeling of the breath moving in and out of the area in the center of your chest, which we do a lot in HeartSourcing. It's a way to focus the mind out of the thinking brain into the heart. But this time, let's use a different point, which is very powerful for concentration, and that's the point between the eyebrows, also known as the third eye. So the exercise for that, you can do that with using the breath, breathing in and out of the third eye, or without the breath. But the exercise is to bring your attention very one-focused to that point between the eyebrows. And if you like to, you can touch that spot, so you get a little feeling there. And then, either with using the breath, breathing in and out of the third eye, or just bringing the attention to that spot, begin to focus on your third eye to the exclusion of everything else as much as possible. So when you focus on the third eye, there'll be a natural sensation. You may have a sensation of pressure, or you may see some light, or in some way have your attention on the third eye be responded to by other types of experiences. That can be helpful if that keeps you going, if that helps your concentration, but the sensations or images or lights that appear are basically not important. They can help you with your focus, that's great, but I don't recommend to get into this now and say, oh, I saw this light or this or that. The ego mind loves to feel special and grand about its things, but remember what we're doing here. We're not trying to enlarge our ego. We're trying to calm the mind. So in a certain sense, the less the better. Now, another very helpful exercise to help you really focus the mind is a candle exercise. And this is the kind of exercise that people start with when they begin to meditate, and then 30 years later, when they're really expert meditators, they may still do it every so often, because it helps to really hone the mind's ability to stay on one object. So what you do is you take a tapered candle, or any kind of candle, but tapered candles are good because you just see the flame. And you put it about a foot away from your third eye area. And you begin to focus on that candle flame. Now, focusing on a candle flame is easy because it's a living element, it's alive. You've probably looked at ocean waves or at flowing water in a river. And you've noticed how the mind actually loves to get into that. It is much less prone to disturbances at that time when it focuses on an element, or it could be the wind going through a field of wheat or something like that. You see the play of the element. So in that way, you're focusing on this candle flame, and it's alive. It's like present there. So the mind likes to focus on that. But after a little while, your eyes will become tired from, not staring, but looking very intently. We have a remedy for that. Close the eyes. What will happen is that you now will see the after image of that candle flame on the back of your eyes. So the image actually is not going away. So you have your eyes closed, you still see the image, your eyes relax, then open them again when the after image fades, and look at the candle flame again. So you can actually maintain that for quite a while. And that's something I let you practice at home because you need a candle for it. And it's not helpful to really put a candle onto a video screen. Use a real candle. And practice that and see how long you can actually stay with that concentration. Okay? Very good. I wouldn't keep turning that off, because then every time you lose your sync between the cameras. Okay. I'm just doing my gig here. Let's see. Yes. So the next section has to do with feeling into the body. And that's a profoundly important exercise because for many of us, when we're young, we go through periods where we really don't feel very well, where we have a lot of negative emotions that may be hanging around for quite a while. And we instinctively notice that being attuned to these negative emotions is really painful. And so we learn to block them out. And that can come slowly, increment by increment when we're little, or it can come through a single traumatic experience where we just learn to disengage from our feelings and split off from them. And when we want to use the mind to become calm, to become centered, to become peaceful, we have to, of course, undo the residue of negative emotions. So one of the necessities we have is to be able to be in touch with the feelings. Many of us are like talking heads. We know what's going on up here, but anything in the body we're really not that attuned to. And so this exercise of feeling the body is very important, especially for modern people. But it's also part of ancient mindfulness training. And training of Vipassana, which is 2,500 years old or older. This process of sweeping through the body with your attention is one of the core pieces of the Vipassana practice. Vipassana is a fundamental exercise of meditation, fundamental teaching of meditation. So the way we do this is first we need to realize that every emotion creates a body sensation. And you can take yourself back to a moment, maybe not long ago, where you felt a strong emotion. Just go back to that memory and evoke a little bit of that emotion. Doesn't have to be big, but evoke a little bit of that emotion. You may feel the lump in the throat. We have these expressions in our language. The knot in the stomach, the heaviness on your shoulders, the clenched jaw. Whatever it may be, it could be anywhere in the body. So let's take a moment. You may recall a memory that had an emotion attached to it. And then mentally scan through your body and see where this emotion expresses itself as a body sensation. And simply stay conscious of that body sensation for a little bit, without judging it, without pushing it away, without trying to escape from it. Just be conscious of that body sensation. Very good. Now you can also deepen your awareness of that body sensation, and notice we're still focusing now, as well as more generally focusing in on the body, becoming aware of the body. So what you can do is, once you have identified the area of that body sensation, the area of where the emotion expresses itself, you can use the breath and imagine that your breath flows in and out of that place in the body. So this, like I said, could be the throat or the belly or the shoulders, or your left toe, or whatever it is, wherever you're feeling a sensation in the body. Just imagine the breath going in and out of that spot, and see how you can strengthen your focus in that way. Very good. So I give you this as some exercises or practices you can do on your own. You can watch the recording again to firm up your memory of what we're doing here, but you can also just do it in the middle of the day when you have nothing to do, you're sitting by a red light or waiting in front of an elevator. Just feel yourself present. Notice what's going on in your body. Be in that body, and that's a wonderful way to get yourself into the here and now. Be aware of the breath. Take yourself out of the ever-busy mind. You get centered and calm in the core of your being. So in this lesson, we're doing a fundamental meditation exercise called sweeping. That comes out of the Vipassana tradition. And it's this process of beginning in one part of your body, we're starting with the head in this case, and bringing your attention step by step through all the different parts of your body, and we'll follow the body through all the way to the feet and then back up to the head. So let's begin by sitting comfortably but with a straight back. And bring your attention to the very top of the head. And notice any sensations that may be present in the top of the head. Bring your attention to the face. What sensations are there in the forehead, in the area around the eyes, the nose, cheeks, and the jaw. And bring the attention to the back of the head. And become sensitive and alert to whatever sensations there are in the back of the head. And come down to the throat and neck. And you may notice that some thoughts come and try to detract you just by habit. Just let them go, come back to feeling whatever sensation there may be in the neck and throat. Then bring your attention to the right shoulder. Down to the upper arm. Elbow. Lower arm. The wrist. Palms. Back of the hand, all the way to the fingertips. Now let's come back from the hand to the wrist. Feel whatever sensations there are present. The lower arm, elbow, upper arm, and the right shoulder. You may notice that there are some stronger body sensations in another part of your body. Maybe something is itching, or if some sense of numbness. But remember who's in charge here. It's you, not the mind. So just let that sensation be there until you get to that. So bring your attention to the left shoulder and feel any sensations that may be there in the left shoulder. The upper arm, the left elbow, lower arm, the wrist, the left palm, the back of the hand, and all the way the very tips of the fingers. Let's reverse that. Let's come back to the palm, back of the hand, the left wrist, lower arm, elbow, upper arm, and the shoulder. And I invite you to go slower if that works for you better when you do it by yourself. Now, bring your attention to your chest. If you experience pain or numbness in any part of your body and you have to shift, then do it very consciously. But other than that, hold your body very still and bring your attention to your abdomen. And to the pelvis area, the hips. And let's go up to the shoulders. Feel both shoulders now, how they connect on the back. Feel the upper back. The middle of the back. And the lower back. And again, the pelvis and the hips. And then let's go down the right leg. First, feel the right buttock. Then the thigh. Let's start with the inside of the thigh. And the outside of the thigh. And the right knee. And if there's, for instance, something starting to itch or so, just notice that. Oh, itching. A neutral observation. There's no need to get dramatic about it or emotional or think you have to do something about it now. It's just an itch. It's another observation, another sensation. And then notice the sensations in your lower leg, the shins and calves on the right side. And your ankle. The soles of your feet. The top of your feet. And your toes. So let's reverse that flow through the leg. Come back to the upper part of the foot. The sole of the foot. To the ankle. Feel the lower leg. The right knee again. And the outer part of the thigh. And the inner part of the thigh. All the way up to the right buttock. Now, let's go to the left leg, left buttock. Focus on the inside of the left thigh. Just notice whatever sensations there are, subtle or gross. And notice how those sensations come and go. And the outside of the thigh. The left knee. The lower leg, shin and calf. The left ankle. The sole of the foot. The upper part of the foot. And your left toes. And let's reverse that. Feel the upper part of the foot again. Sole of the foot. Ankle. lower leg, the knee, outside of the thigh, inside of the thigh, and your left buttock, and become aware of that strong basis, foundation of the hips and the groin area. Now your mind may be running a commentary like this is boring, or I can't do that, or what's this supposed to be? Just notice these as thoughts. They're simply something else to observe. Aside from becoming aware of what's going on in your body, you're also developing the ability to witness what is going on, to witness your own consciousness through feelings, through body, through mind. So you can gain a sense of mastery inside your mind. So bring the attention to the lower back. Feel all the sensation in the lower back, and then the middle of the back. And the upper back. The shoulders. Then again, the belly, abdomen. You may notice it moving with the breath. And deeper than the abdomen, you may be aware of what's going on in the belly, the intestinal area, your stomach. And become aware of the chest. And back to the shoulders again. Now let's focus on the left arm again, the left shoulder. The upper arm. Elbow. Lower arm. The wrist. The left palm. The back of the hand. And your fingers. And you're doing really great. In our time when we have about a 5-second attention span, you are expanding your mental capacity right now tremendously. Let's reverse this. Come back to the back of the hand, the left hand. The left palm. The wrist. Lower arm. left elbow, upper arm, and the left shoulder. Let's go to the right shoulder. The more focused you can be on these different parts of your body, the richer and deeper this exercise will be for you. So focus on the upper arm on the right side. The elbow. The lower arm. Your wrist. The right palm. The back of the right hand. And your fingers. Feel what's going on in those fingers. Lots of sensations there. And again, the back of the hand. The palm. The right wrist. Lower arm. Arm. Elbow. Upper arm. And the shoulder. And if there's thoughts running through your head, that's to be expected. Just notice them as thoughts and let them come and go. And stay with the part of the body you're focusing on. So let's go to the throat. Feel all the sensations in the throat. And the neck. From the neck, come up to the back of the head. And from there to the face, starting with the jaw. The area around the ears. The cheeks. Nose, the eyes, and the forehead, and get a sense of all the sensations in your whole face. And then bring the attention back to the very top of the head. And just feel what's going on there. A deep breath. Very good. I understand that's very different from what we usually do with our minds. Our minds usually run all over the place, or get distracted by something in very quick succession. I mean, I remember when MTV was new and these images would get really fast, the images on the screen constantly changing. And our minds are used to that type of overstimulation. So it's not always easy to begin to really work from within the mind, but that's what these exercises are so good for. They help us to slow down. They help us to meet ourselves. And it might be shocking for you to notice how little you're actually in touch with yourself, how little you actually experience yourself, your body, your emotions, your mind. We tend to be very much outside of ourselves. And does it serve us? Well, you wouldn't be doing this course if it would really be serving you, would you? Okay, very good. Okay, I think we'll stop here with the recording. Good. So, here we are. We want to do some heart sourcing, but I also want to invite any kind of comments or observations or questions, any way that we can be in communion with each other and break through the one-way communication that this is always to some extent. Any comments or questions about what we just did? Mm-hmm. Yeah, Leslie.
Are we trying to learn to ultimately dissolve the mind into the heart? And from that place, if we are, can we think all of our thoughts from the heart?
Right. It's a great question. Let me repeat it in case it wasn't clear. Are we intending here to learn how to dissolve the mind into the heart? And can we think our thoughts once their consciousness is in the heart? Well, to dissolve your mind into the heart is something that we all already know to do. At any moment when you have a certain amount of stress and you're up here very strongly in your ego mind, and something may happen, maybe you meet a good friend that you haven't seen for a while, and suddenly, and you're out of the mind, and you're in your heart, and you have this wonderful experience of meeting somebody. Or it could be not necessarily meeting somebody, but just shifting your attention from this mental thought focus into a focus of being more present, being more alive within yourself. So we all already know a little bit of how to dissolve or to bring the mind out of the heart, out of the head into the heart, right? Now, the head, the brain, helps us to orient ourselves and to work with this world through thoughts. And this is an important part. But we have different types of thoughts. Specifically, we have peaceful thoughts, we have neutral thoughts, and we have stressful thoughts. It's particularly the stressful ones we need to work with, because the stressful ones keep us a prisoner inside of us in a very unpleasant way. And secret of secrets, and don't take my word for it, please, find out for yourself. But what you may notice is that every stressful thought, once you investigate it, look at it deeply, and we do that with the work of Byron Katie, it will turn out not to be true. But for you to know that I'm saying this, that that's my experience, that that's the experience of now probably millions of people who do this investigation in the mind, is not going to help you. Only your own experience of that will help you. Because when you have a thought, let's say, people cannot be trusted, that can deeply affect your mind and your relationships with the world. So if you have a way to really look at that thought with the question, is it actually true? What is the truth about people? can I look deeper than my mental conditioning that I absorbed when I was a child? And you find out that people actually are different from the way you think of them. So you find out a different reality. Then that belief of people cannot be trusted simply cannot lodge itself into your mind the way it has in the past. It cannot be believed because you've seen it to be false, right? So this is one way of unhooking your mind from the brain, from these thoughts and beliefs that are running here. So then what happens to that energy? That energy can be liberated from being a prisoner of the mind with the tension that goes along with it, and it can come into the heart. Now, what does that mean, into the heart? Well, you can be more centered, you can be more loving, you can be more present. That's for sure. But there is a quality of the mind that is known as the higher mind or the wisdom mind that then becomes available to us. And that's intuitive perception. And intuitive perception is a whole different way of experiencing the world. It's a way of simply knowing without having to figure it out through thought. And we also know that if you take a walk somewhere in nature and you're fairly relaxed, you can be there, of course, thinking about your balance sheet. But if you're relaxed and you're having a good time in nature, what's happening there is you're walking and you're not going to start thinking, oh, this tree is a fir tree and it's so tall, and who cares? You're just there. You're enjoying the presence of that moment, right? And that is a way of being just free from the dictatorship of thoughts. And you're more in the heart, and you're a little bit in touch with intuitive perception, just a piece of nature, perhaps. You know? So bringing the mind out of the head into the heart includes all those different things. Thought continues to be available to us, of course. If I have to figure out how to take something out of a package and put it together, a household appliance or something, I'm of course going to use my thoughts because my intuition is not going to help me there, right? But if it comes to something a little bit more complex, like how to have a loving relationship with another human being, my thinking mind is not going to serve me much. So then, if I'm not locked into that old conditioned thinking, I have my intuitive mind, my heart, my ability to be loving, compassionate, and kind available to me. You see? So with this mind training, we're setting the stage, the fundamental skills. We're learning them and we're practicing them to be able to not be a captive of the mind, but to increasingly be able to shift into the heart, which is really the totality of our being. It's not limited to one spot, but we're using that because as a focal point, because it's truly different from the thinking mind. Any other questions? Any other comments?
There is one here.
Okay.
By Rose.
Okay.
The embodiment practice is a sweet returning to myself. It assisted me to integrate after a very full day. Please speak about the acquisition mind versus the intuitive mind.
Well, hi Rose. The acquisition mind, I have never thought of it that way, but that's a good way of thinking about it. The acquisition mind is the mind that always has to get something. You know.
Can you turn on your device? I want to record this.
Okay. So the mind, the ego mind, runs in patterns of desire and fear. These two forces keep us in the mind, keep us in that ego identity, our mistaken identity, and keep us spinning round and round from one experience to the next without a true grasp on who we truly are, because they stay on the surface. And desire, of course, we have in our society these days, we have really perfected that. We have this acquisition mind. We always want something. And even if we think about enlightenment, it becomes a thing to us or a state that we want to acquire. And that is, of course, a complete misunderstanding. But I think your question about the acquisition mind doesn't go that far. It's just you're living your day through your day, and there's always something happening, and you want to be in control of that something. You want to be free of fear or any unpleasant feelings. You want to move toward what's more pleasurable. And we constantly move in this sort of back and forth, this push and pull reactivity of the mind, desire and fear, pleasure and pain. But there's a place when you think of pleasure and pain like a pendulum. You know, you go to pleasure and you buy yourself pain because that pendulum's just going to swing back. Eckhart Tolle says it very nicely. We can have two bad experiences. One is that we get what we want, that we don't get what we want, and we're miserable. And the other one is that we get what we want because we'll lose it again. So that's the acquisition mind. But there's a place where that pendulum hangs, that fulcrum place, that still place. You see the pendulum of pleasure and pain, desire and fear. It just keeps on swinging. And we don't have to stop that because it's really part of life. We don't have to reinforce it, you know, really strong and be caught in it, but we can go into that still place. If you think of this as a pendulum, there's a place where that pendulum hangs, right? And that place doesn't move. Well, turn that image around. It's the mind that goes from pleasure to pain, desire and fear, back and forth. It's the heart, what we call the heart, the hridayam, the deepest heart, that is always in peace. And there's no movement there that can derail us out of our peace. And that state is always there. And we have a different image for that, a different metaphor, which is the metaphor of the ocean waves. And the ocean waves always give us highs and lows. And that's just part of life. That's not going to stop. It doesn't stop when you're enlightened. It gets a lot smoother, but it's still happening. There's ups and downs, you know. Enlightened people get parking tickets and get sick and, you know, have experiences like we all do. This comes with being in a body. But when you're only aware of these ups and downs of life, then it's like you're getting kicked around by this constant movement. When you're aware of the depth of the ocean, which is the space of the heart, and that in the depth of the ocean, there's permanent, profound peace, while the waves are still happening on the surface. You know, nothing wrong with those waves. But now you're here, and you're here in two ways. You're here as the witness, the timeless witness that can watch the play of the waves on the surface, but does not get involved. And you're here as in your capacity for profound compassion and love. And you can love the world and this character of you that's going through ups and downs. You know, like in my case, it's the Ramgiri puppet. The Ramgiri puppet has its experiences, ups and downs. It wants things and doesn't want things. That's natural. But do I need to be hung up about that? Do I need to be consumed by that? And this mind training that we're doing allows us, it gives us the basic capacity to go into that space of peace, that space that is not kicked around by life, a space that is peaceful. a space that is always already fulfilled. But we cannot feel that space when we're captives to the mind. That's why mind training, basic mind training, is so important. To help us relax into that place. And in that place of the heart, we come to know who we truly are, which is not this body, personality, mind entity, but the consciousness that observes it, the awareness in which it appears. But we go step by step. We have to train the mind first not to be so unruly and so dictatorial in the way it treats us. We have to make the mind our friend and our servant, because often it can be like a dictator. And so we take little steps in mind training, but they all lead to that place where we can be aware and at peace in this place of blissful self-assuredness. It's a different self. It's a different way of being. And it's possible for everyone because it's already in everyone. It's not something we have to create. So it's not something we have to acquire. It in itself is effortless because it's already what we are. So the effort that we're making in our spiritual work is to remove the obstacles and obstructions that stand in the way of us finding our true self, finding that peace that we are. So let's close with a few minutes of heart sourcing. So get yourself into a nice, comfortable position and close your eyes. And bring your attention to the area of the heart. And you can breathe in and out of the heart to bring your attention there, to bring your mental focus to that innermost place in the chest, the Hridayam. And it's okay if the mind comes in with thoughts, or if there are sensations in the body, or distractions. Just notice them and relax again into the heart. And imagine this physical spot in the very center of the chest. Just imagine a point of light there. That is soft and yet powerful. And it's beckoning your attention, it's beckoning your mind to focus on that point of light, and for a little while experience the world from inside that point of light in the heart, looking out from the heart, as it were. And in this point of light, in this center space of your being, there's a wonderful, soft presence. A deep sense of fulfillment. And you may or may not be able to sense that now, but just take my words and let them guide you. surrender to this guidance through words, through concepts, into experience itself. And that light, that point of light in the chest enlarges, becomes stronger and larger. And it's radiant and warm and filled with wonderful light. And it radiates effortlessly from that inner space into all the parts of your body, into the head, up to the shoulders and down the arms, filling your whole torso with light and deeply peaceful, wonderful feelings. And down into the hip area, the abdomen, the groin. And it radiates down into the legs, all the way to the feet. And it's this amazing presence in the center of your being, like the sun, shining without any effort, completely at ease, radiating pure compassion, pure loving kindness to the entirety of your being, to your physical body, to your emotions, that can deeply relax in that effulgent feeling from the heart. To the mind, that can find a sense of profound gratitude for the gifts that you're discovering in you and will continue to discover. And that inner light can spread into your relationships, toward all the people you know and love and care about. It can spread to those for whom you have neutral feelings. And it can also, and very powerfully, send its light and compassion to the people with whom you have a difficult time. The people you may think of as enemies or problem characters. Let that inner light expand to them. Let them be part of this orb of your great, undefeatable being. And from this powerful place in the heart, you may notice that you experience your entire world inside the heart-mind. All the people, all the places, past and future, present, all occur in your consciousness. And if this consciousness is permeated by the warmth and the light of your heart, the entire character of your world begins to change. A world that was difficult and unfriendly at first becomes a world of deep kindness. world of peace. A world of infinite beauty. So relax into this world of peace and beauty inside of you. And know that you are both the origin and the receiver of this love, this beauty, this peace. And feel the invitation of your heart to come here again and again out of the mind, and to go deeper and deeper into this delicious peace, this great clear awareness. And this unshakable security. For you are the creator of your world. You are the architect of your destiny. You are the human beloved and the divine lover in one. So let's take a deep breath. Exhale. Inhale again. Relax. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Next week, I come just to think of it, the 9th of September, is the day when we commemorate my guru's life. And it just happens that our satsang falls on that day. The date shifts each year because it's calculated in India and they have a moon calendar, but this year it falls on next Tuesday. And so I would like to take this opportunity next week to talk about him a little bit. And it's not about him so much. For some of it is, of course, because we identify the guru with that person who lived in this particular time and space. But we will not just talk about one teacher or one guru, we will also talk about our inner guru, which is that space of the heart, and the infinite consciousness, the timeless awareness, and the infinite love that is this space, that is our true identity. Because in the very core of us, we are that Sadguru, that inner guru. So that'll be a little bit of the topic for next week, and I wish you a wonderful time until then. Good week. Namaste.